Welcome to the U.S. Government Information Collection at the University of Vermont. We're in Howe Library on the ground floor, and behind me is our amazing collection of U.S. government information. In 1907, Congress officially designated University of Vermont to be a federal depository library, but we were collecting material much before that. So we have material going back to the 1700s, including George Washington's first speech to Congress, right, George? This collection is so rich and has content for just about every subject. Let me show you some examples. You would probably expect to find laws and court cases and records from Congress here, and you would be right. Here is a very large law. This is the Defense Authorization Act. Here's a very small law. This law designates a post office and names it after the singer Patsy Cline. And here is the law that admitted Vermont into the United States in 1791. We also have records from every day in Congress. And here is a speech by our Vermont representative, Becca Ballant. She's talking about the mental health crisis among youth. We also have every Supreme Court decision, and here's the famous Roe v. Wade decision. We have public papers of the presidents. Here is Richard Nixon's resignation letter. It's just one sentence long. It says, "I hereby resign the office of President of the United States. Sincerely, Richard Nixon." And that's it. Now, in addition to Congress and the president and the court, the U.S. government has hundreds of agencies and departments, and they are constantly churning out interesting and helpful and sometimes amusing publications. Here are 3 reports from commissions that looked into important events. Here is a volume from the Warren Commission that investigated the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And here they are interviewing Mrs. Lee Harvey Oswald. Here's a report after 9/11 on how the World Trade Towers fell. And here's a report, quite recent, regarding the attacks on the Capitol on January 6. We also have history books about other topics. Here's a history of Indian policy in the United States. There's health information from the National Institutes of Health. Here's a whole series on women and heart disease. We have pamphlets that will tell you about important historic sites or national parks. And we have scientific publications. Here's something from the Department of Interior reporting on the famous 1927 flood. Here's a picture of Montpelier, Vermont, flooded by that event. There are also cookbooks and things for people who like to cook. Here's a book promoting healthy meals for healthy children. So if you need a recipe for making chili for 300 people, we can set you up with that. And if you're an artist, we have material you might be interested in. This is a book from NASA called Earth as Art, and it shows satellite imagery from different regions of the Earth, and the pictures are just gorgeous. We also have some information for children. Here's a really big book from the Department of Health promoting healthy lifestyle, and it's called Play Day in the Park. And this is one of my favorites, Instructor's Guide to Combat Skiing. This is from the Department of Defense. It's a little field manual for the Marine Corps. And in Vermont, we could find this useful. You might not need to know how to hold your rifle while you're on skis, but perhaps it would be useful for you to know how to get over a fence or a rock wall. And they have pictures of how to do that in here. Most of our government publications are coming to us now in online format, but we have a very large collection of print materials, about 900,000. We use compact shelving as a space-saving technique, and the collection is arranged by special call number called SUDOC numbers, and these numbers gather material together based on the agency that produced it. So we have A for Department of Agriculture, C for Department of Commerce, D for Department of Defense, I for Department of Interior, and so on. Another way we save space is to have material on microfiche. Microfiche is another space-saving technique that just takes a little picture of every page in a publication. Here's a report on changes in tree growth rate in Vermont. And you can take this microfiche card to a special computer where you can read it and take scans of every one of the pages. Thanks for touring the U.S. Government Information Collection with me. I hope that you'll plan to visit and make good use of this really rich and interesting collection. And when you're here, be sure to let us know how we can help.